Hi, here I am again with another Reiki video, and this week I wanted to just talk about a subject that I wrote an article about for a magazine called Resonance, which is the UK Reiki magazine, UK Reiki Federation magazine, and it's on the topic of spirit guides or Reiki guides, otherworldly beings from other dimensions, other levels of existence in the system of Reiki. Now, the founder of Reiki, Mikao Usui, it seems to me, from everything I've read about him and everything I understand about him, having worked with his system, is that he was not only a very spiritual person, but a very grounded person, a very down-to-earth sort of guy. And as a consequence of that, there are no spirit guides, no Reiki guides, no angels, no otherworldly beings in the system of Reiki. Now, you may ask why. They're not necessary. That's the reason they're not there. They're fundamentally not necessary and add nothing at all to the practice of Reiki. If you work with the system of Reiki as Usui designed it, and really commit to it, work with it judiciously every day, do your practice, you're going to get really astonishing results out of this system. It's an amazing system, it's an incredibly powerful system, and if you just work with it diligently and be patient, you are going to get amazing results. Adding in spirit guides, Reiki guides, well, number one, you're actually corrupting the system, and number two, it's just an indication of laziness, because you're not prepared to actually do the hard work yourself to get the result that you're seeking, that will be best for you. You're trying to shortcut it. Whenever someone engages in a spiritual practice and they start relying on spirit guides, Reiki guides, angels, other beings outside of the spiritual system itself, this is an indication that they just can't be bothered to put in the hard work themselves, because if you do, you'll get the results. It's just about committing to the system and being patient with it. And I said a second ago that this is a corruption of the system, and I stand by that. It is a profound corruption of the system, because one of the things we all learn about Reiki when we first take Reiki training, in whatever tradition that is, we all learn that what Usui did was create a system for everybody. It's a system for everybody. It doesn't matter what your personal beliefs are, what your religious convictions are. Reiki should still be accessible to you. Okay, that was one of the things that marked the genius of Usui, that he was able to do this. I remember my Reiki master, Gordon Bell, saying to me, and it's a teaching that has stuck in my mind for the last 22 years now, that a Reiki master, when he teaches his students, he gives them this clear essence, and they can then add their own colour to it, their own flavour to it. You don't give it to them already polluted with your own belief system, whether that's Christianity or Islam or Judaism or Buddhism or Hinduism or Jainism, Sikhism, whatever ism you happen to believe in. It shouldn't be in that liquid, that essence that you're passing on to your students. Give them that pure essence and let them add their own flavour. And this is perfectly acceptable. Let them add their own flavour, but you shouldn't give it to them already flavoured, already corrupted, polluted with your belief systems. When you start telling students, and I have seen this, where Reiki masters have said, when you learn Reiki, you will learn to access your own Reiki guide. This is a profound corruption of the system. You're making an assumption that Reiki guides, i.e. spirit guides, same thing essentially, that you're making an assumption that that other person has a belief in these things, that they have a belief in concordance with your personal beliefs. This is a very arrogant assumption to make, and you shouldn't be making these assumptions. Give people that pure essence, give them this flavourless, colourless, religion-free, belief-free essence that's at the heart of of religions, essentially. I've got one of my students here in Cairo, Nefertiti. Nefertiti, I love the fact that I've got an Egyptian student called Nefertiti. I'm hanging on for the day that I've got another Egyptian student called Cleopatra, but at the moment I've just got Nefertiti. Nefertiti is now a Reiki master in her own right. Now, when Nefertiti started practicing Reiki, she told me quite clearly that in her personal practice, she combines her Reiki along with verses from the Quran, and uses Reiki in conjunction with her prayers that she does 5 times a day. And I've encouraged her in this. This is a very good thing to do, to find a way of integrating Reiki into your personal belief system as part of your personal practice. But I made it clear to her that when she teaches this to other people, she must not, under any circumstances, bring her religion into that class. She must give her students that clear essence, just in the same way that I gave her that clear essence, to allow her to add her belief system to it, so that it works for her. Because when you're in a class and you're teaching a group of students, you don't know whether they're Muslims or Christians or Jews or Hindus or Buddhists or atheists. You have no concept. And as soon as you start bringing in the concepts of Reiki guides, spirit guides, angels, otherworldly beings, you are disenfranchising some of those people who do not share your belief in those things. And this is profoundly against the intentions of Usui when he invented the system, when he created this amazing system that we call Reiki. I've got, I know that in the West, in the UK, I know that in the West, in the UK, there's a general acceptance that things like spirit guides are benevolent, that they're positive spiritual forces in the world. This comes out of a deeply Judeo-Christian New Age melting pot, cultural melting pot. Now, if you look at this concept of spirit guides from the perspective of some of my students in Egypt, as some of them have here, they've questioned me, what are these things called spirit guides? What are these? Why are these in the system of Reiki? And it's taken me quite a lot of effort to explain this concept to them, because to them, culturally, not all of them, but some of them, culturally, they're very wary of these things called spirit guides, because their immediate reaction, their knee-jerk cultural reaction to this is, are these demons? Are these jinn? Now, from a Western perspective, we might laugh that off. Well, that's an arrogant position, because from a perspective, from the cultural perspective of a place like Egypt and other Muslim countries, it is a legitimate and perfectly reasonable interpretation of this concept of spirit guides. This is why spirit guides are not in the system and should not be in the system, because you're disenfranchising a significant number of people. You scare the hell out of them when you talk about spirit guides. You people in the West might think this is okay. It's not okay, because if you look at it from the point of view of Islam, then it can be interpreted in an entirely different way. These things are not necessarily seen as benevolent. They're either dismissed as fairy stories, or they're seen as possibly evil in their intention. And these things are down to a cultural perception. Spirit guides are not necessarily benevolent. You see them that way because you have a cultural perspective on them that views spirit guides from a Judeo-Christian New Age perspective. From a Muslim country's perspective, they don't necessarily see it that way. They see it completely differently. And this is why Usui doesn't have this stuff in his system of Reiki. And to be honest, you don't need it. If you actually take responsibility for your own spiritual progress, which ultimately is what Reiki is about, it's a set of tools for you to take responsibility for your own spiritual journey. If you do that, if you actually take responsibility for your own spiritual journey and stop relying on spirit guides, Reiki guides, otherworldly beings, channeled information, you will find that Reiki is going to give you amazing results, astonishing results. You simply don't need all of this extra New Age baggage that is added to a modern understanding of Reiki. I certainly steer my students away from people who teach this nonsense, and I will label it nonsense. I am making that judgment. It is nonsense because it is frankly not necessary to the practice of Reiki. So I would say if you're looking for a Reiki class, number one, find someone who's teaching traditional Reiki. Keep well away from the New Age practitioners. And number two, check whether they teach things like spirit guides, Reiki guides, whether there are angels in the system, whether there are otherworldly beings, whether there's channeled information. If any of those things exist in it, walk away and find yourself a different teacher, because these people who are teaching these classes are not grounded, and their teachings are highly suspect and carry no evidence of their efficacy at all. So there are good teachers out there. Channeled New Age practices add nothing at all to the magic of Usui's system. Usui's system is a brilliant piece of, it's a work of genius, to be honest. And you don't need to go adding stuff. This is just all about ego, it's arrogance. You don't need all of this extra junk thrown into the Reiki system. It works fine just as Usui put it together. Anyway, that's me getting off my soapbox today. The sun's starting to go down a bit. I'll try and come back next Monday. I'm going to be on a flight back to the UK next Monday. So I will try to make a video either before I get on that plane or when I land back in the UK, probably the former. But either way, I'll be back with another video sometime in the next few days or so. Okay, take care. Bye bye.